Welcome to Down the Road. I've been looking forward to, I don't know if you, what you call it. If you, there's words I can't use to describe it, maybe letters. I mean, maybe a BS session. But I've been actually anxious to talk to the individual we're about to visit with as we go down the road for a long time. For those of you who believe that young people don't get involved, the man I'm about to introduce you to is the mayor of Wyndmere. For those of you who don't believe that you get up in the morning and you know what, you can work in a lot of different capacities, both in an office and on a crane. The young person I'm about to introduce you to is an exact example of that. Nathan Brandt, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Thanks, Joel.
Local 49, that's the union. Tell people about it. Tell people what the Local 49 is.
Well, Local 49, we're the International Union of Operating Engineers. Heavy highway, building roads, doing green energy, building pipelines. Any project, road project or building project, we're ready to help.
I got in my pickup once and drove up to your, actually you're so dedicated to it, you have a place where you do training.
Yep.
And everything from cranes to payloaders to a little bit of everything you had there. Describe to people what that is and where it's at.
Well, it's our training center. It's up in Hinckley, Minnesota. It's free for anybody that's a Local 49 member to go up there and better their skills. I mean, in today's world, you have to be a multi-machine craftsman. You know, back in the 80s or 70s, you went out as a dozer hand. That's all you did was run a bulldozer or a crane or whatever. You know, we've come to being a multifaceted operator. The more you learn, so our members can go out there in the wintertime. We have a space that's I believe it's 150 by 300 feet long, if you remember that, Joel, indoor. Mm-hmm. So if it's snowing or everything's frozen, we can go in there and continue our training. And it's very important to continue training, get better and better for our contractors that we work with.
Well, you made an investment into yourself, mm-hmm. which I always thought was impressive. And of course, not everyone is that experienced. Not everyone is that experienced operator.
No.
That you grew up with and around and are mm-hmm. yourself. You know, there's a lot of young people that you're trying to get into the Local 49 that really, when they look at it, it's like, okay, it can be intimidating.
Yeah.
But this is a good place to go where it doesn't intimidate them anymore.
No, I mean, it's like anything else. I mean, you know, contrary to popular belief, not everybody's born a machine operator, run equipment or whatever. You get better by time in the seat, training. You know, our instructors up there are all 15 to 20-year journeymen who've been on job sites, seen everything. So a lot of what they do is they're getting rid of bad habits. So they're teaching our members to be more productive, to be safe. You know, safety is the first thing with us because contractors depend on OSHA ratings, so we want to be safe. We teach that. Better processes to make jobs go better, go faster, but yet still be safe and be skilled. And do it once, don't do it twice. Right?
You know, I think a lot of people hear the terminology, but they don't understand really what it means. So walk them through apprentice, journeyman's, masters, the type of things words that you live by.
Okay, well, an apprentice, you know, can be a 18-year-old kid, or it can be a 30-year-old guy. It's you know, I have interest in doing this, but you know what, I don't know how to do it. So we bring them in as an apprentice. You have to take some Ramsey knowledge skills tests, do a few other things, and then we start the process of here's the equipment. The first thing they do before they get in it is learn to check the oil, check all the hydraulics. Where's the on-off switch on this thing, right? Just the basics. And we do have theory class. The apprentices have to go for 199 hours each year for training. And then we get out in the equipment and, you know, one of the older instructors says, you know, use your butt. That's your guide, that's your level. So a lot of times when the apprentice will get done, they say, well, now what does that feel like? And a lot of apprentices will say, well, it looks like a bombing run that the Navy did or Air Force or something, you know. So, so there's learning aspects. So there's segments of where you go through. So after an apprentice the apprentice is 5,000 hours of working on the job. So once you've met that requirement, plus your training, you've hit that milestone, and the contractor says, you know what, this person knows what they're doing. Then we move them into journeyman status, and that's That's the top. It's either journeyman, which it means you're skilled enough to do the work. You know, you can read the blueprints from and look at a dirt field and understand in your head what it needs to look like when you're done. Okay, so it goes a pre-apprentice to an apprentice to a journeyman.
You know, and every one of those steps mean more pay.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
And the thing about the apprenticeship, it's 5 years, and you start out at a 70% of the pay. You get to another 1,000 hours, you go to 80%, another 1,000 hours, 90, and then you go, you stay at that 90, then you go to, you know, progress up to after your 5,000 hours, you know, then you're at the full contract rate.
I'm a lot older than you, so I remember when there wasn't as much work for, you know, the local 49. That's different now. My guess is you can't get enough members of the local 49.
Yeah, I mean, we've grown in the last 2 years by, I think, almost 2,500 people. So that's always the quandary too, is you don't want to have too many so people aren't working, right? In the last couple of years, you know, since green energy really came into it and the pipeline work, we brought on a lot of people, and we've been able to maintain and keep everybody busy that wants to work, you know. So that's why we're always looking for the next big project, right? So.
You know, there was a time, Nathan, that I talked to you and you lined up the ability for me to visit with the gentleman that ran the crane in downtown Fargo as they were building Block 9,
Yep.
which was one of the biggest building projects in North Dakota in my lifetime. And so he's up and what do you call the crane? I don't want to.
They're called tower cranes.
Tower cranes.
Yep.
Okay. So he's up. I call it big blank crane.
Yep.
So he's up. He's up in this crane, and you know the skills it took. I mean, to get up there, know everybody's below you. You're moving concrete. You're moving dirt. You're doing all these things. If you goof up, somebody down below you is dead. I mean, the skills that come with that. That's hard.
Yeah, and you know, that's seat time, that's training time at our training center. We have the tower crane that's very similar to that. They're taught on how to build the tower cranes. You know, they start out at the ground and they work their way up. You know, and that's very dangerous when they're extending the heights of these. And I mean, you've got, as an operator in there, you've got radios from different crews. You know, there was multiple cranes on that job, so you're making sure you don't hit the other crane, you don't hit the building, you're watching what's going on. You know, chiropractors enjoy tower crane operators because they're always looking down all day long, so they get sore. Them and scraper operators.
They're going to get a little work out of it.
Yep, they're going to get a little work out of it.
I asked him when he was up there. I said, all right, you know, you're way up in the tower. You don't just pop down. You don't. What happens when you got to go to the bathroom? What happens when he says, I got a jug?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just as simple.
Well, that's always, I think that's the main question these guys get, because, I mean, you know, the other thing too is they change their eating habits. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
you know, because you're not getting out of there, so.
Right. Yeah, I can. By the way, the gentleman that ran the tower crane that we're making reference to lived in Richland County. Can we point
Yeah, he lives
that
in
out?
Walcott, yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
which is our home county. That's just a way of, you know, the other 52 counties that are listening to us right now say, see, there he goes.
Yeah.
So in terms of the future, in terms of where this goes, do you think we're going to keep union membership? Do you think that they're going to understand the workers how important it is to be that union member?
I think so. You know, the union term itself has taken a beating over the years, because I think people think of back in the 50s and the Jimmy Hoffa era of how, like a union business agent like myself, how we handle ourselves. You know, we take great strides in making good contact with the contractors that, you know, we're a customer for these contractors. We're selling them or giving them goods when they call and say, I need somebody. We're giving, our members are that goods that we're giving to the contractor. That's why we are intensely training. And frankly, Joel, the benefits that come along with being a union member, people enjoy those. I mean, those things that we negotiate these contracts, you'll hear people say, well, it's a union contract. No, it's not. It's a contract with that contractor, with Local 49, and we supply them goods. People that have joined recently have, you know, time after time after time have came back and said, what a life-changing, you know, this has been for us, for my family, for our health insurance that we have. You know, we don't part of our, we don't pay $400 or $500 a month for health insurance. That's part of our contract benefits. The contractors are paying for our health insurance.
Right.
It's great health insurance. Our pensions that we have, people can retire with dignity, and if they want to, they don't have to work anymore. But it takes 30 years of working hard your whole life, being away from home. I mean, before I took this job as a business representative, I was gone 8, 9, 10 months out of the year.
Yeah.
All over the country.
Working as many hours as you can.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Everything we do is hour driven. Our pension's hour driven, our health insurance, our wage. So, I mean, the more you put yourself out there to work, the better off you're going to be.
So this wasn't like something new to you. Your dad built a lot of Bobcats.
Yeah.
Your dad worked in Gwinner at the Melrose factory there, and many names since then.
Yeah.
I get it, but your dad was somebody that I really counted on back in my days as a legislator for guidance. He and others like Bill Ammerman and Randy Edison and others. I'd call them and say, okay, what's right, what's wrong here? Because of guys like that, they couldn't walk up to you on Friday and say, you're going to work Saturday when it might be your daughter's wedding. Didn't matter. You're going to work. Because of guys like that, you actually got workers' comp coverage. Because of guys like that, you actually got the benefits that you're talking about. And so I want to hit on that a little bit more when we come back, if we can,
Yep.
Nathan. The other thing I want to talk about is where it goes in the future and how we got to the point politically where union members don't look at my side of the aisle as though we support them, which absolutely drives me nuts.
Yep.
After being in there 14 years and doing that. So we're going to continue this conversation with Nathan Brandt. Wears a lot of hats, ladies and gentlemen. The mayor of Wyndmere, I'm going to hit on that too. But we're talking about workers. We're talking about the Local 49, something worth checking out if that's what you want to do with your life. I can tell you this. Most of the people I know that do it are happy. We'll be back with more down the road. See, painless.
Yeah.
You're good at
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Heroes and Icons is now Cozy TV. Don't worry, you'll still get your favorite Beck News programming without changing the channel. Real people, real news, Beck News.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather, like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Pub 21, your one stop for fun, drinks, and food. Our spacious facility provides COVID-safe fun for you and all your friends. With nightly bingo and specials, you can be sure there's something to do for everyone. If you're staying in for the night, we've got you covered just across the way with Pub 21 Liquor. We have a wide variety of options, from wine to whiskey and everything in between. Stop in today at 1014 South 12th Street in Bismarck to see what all the buzz is about. You won't be disappointed.
Good to have you still going down the road with us. Again, we're visiting with Nathan Brandt. A lot of different hats. Mayor of Wymer, which is something I definitely want to hit upon. But Nathan is one of the spokespersons and individual that works hard for the Local 49, the Union of Heavy Equipment Operators. Nathan, before we went to a break, we started talking about, you know, what's going on in today's world with union operators. It seems like that the unions themselves have taken a whooping. And it seems as though the unions themselves have gone away from people like me on the Democratic side that represented them. Why?
Well, I think there's three reasons. There's the shift of the Democratic Party so far to the left, the messaging of the Republican Party, and the biggest thing that our members are saying is jobs. And to kind of go through those three subjects, I mean, jobs is a huge, I mean, that's what we live for, right? It is the job. So, you know, the National Building Trades did a poll here earlier in March, and it was 70% Trump, 30% Biden. There were a lot of the international unions like ours that didn't, you know, even put out who they were going to go for, you know, for our membership, because it was so heavily one-sided to the other. And during these polls, which I have a hard time with the last couple presidential elections, I don't know if I believe in polls anymore or not. Yeah. But the membership, you know, that was the things they stated, that the Democratic Party has left the working people. They'd rather deal with social injustices. And our members thought, well, you know, you're going that way, you're not supporting us. And the Republican Party says, well, you can do your pipelines, we can do our mining. And their message from the Republican Party said just that, so that's why they're migrating there. And then when Biden wins, the first thing he does is pull the presidential permit to the Keystone XL pipeline. And that took a lot of our workers that were working on it away from it, you know, and they lost their jobs.
You know, and I said that time and time again. I said that for people who don't realize that pipelines are the safest way to move oil versus rail and semi. They're the safest way to move oil. The country still uses oil, and it's still going to continue to use oil. There are a couple points on the Keystone that it's Canadian oil.
Right.
We get to put a little bit in there. But your point of, hey, we're going to build it, that matters. Those are jobs. You know, I sat down with someone the other day, and they were talking about, you know, mining copper, mining the very things that up in the range that we had done for years. And I said to him, I said, you know, do you like electric cars? Do you like wind towers? I don't think they had a clue of what they're made of. I don't think they had a clue that you need these things to make that happen. And so when you say that, you know, some of your workers are like shaking their heads, you know, I think it's fair in some cases.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what they're looking at is, you know, there's a lot of copper in those wind towers. That's what I did. I did 19 jobs, and when you're lifting that nacelle up and it weighs 300 and some thousand pounds, a lot of it's that copper. And I mean, obviously there's steel and stuff in there, but you need, the Iron Range needs to get the copper out of the ground so we can do these things, just like you were saying. I think people get short-sighted thinking, you know, we can just get rid of this and then we're going to have our way, but there's a process to everything. And, you know, the tradespeople, they understand it. And when they have one party saying we're going to stop all of this, they're looking at their checkbooks. It's a checkbook issue. It's a wallet issue. You know, this party is going to take our wages away from us and our benefits away from us, where this party's saying, you know, we want you to go do it and keep working. So the mindset is changed of, well, this party, you know, has gone one way and this one's saying they're going to let us keep working. So that's kind of why there's been a migration. That's what I see, and that's what, when we pulled our, you know, memberships from every craft, not just the operating engineers, but every craft along the way. And then, you know, also there was a lot of the talk of the immigration stuff saying they're going to come and take your jobs, you know, blah, blah, blah. That weighs on people. So they want to protect, they want to protect what they have in their paychecks, and, you know, people just go that way. And that's what we've seen.
Is there a little forgetfulness, though? I mean, back when I was working with your dad on a lot of these issues, when I first got into the legislature, I was 32 years old, I think. And our big project, or what I was working with, you know, their union on, was to make sure that they had time off, meaning vacation, make sure that they had workers' comp, you know, make sure that they had sick leave, make sure they had all of those things. You know, we weren't talking about pay.
Right.
That was not what the issue was. When I was marching in the strike line with these guys, it was about respect. It was about them not walking up to them on a Friday and saying, you will work Saturday, when they might have had their daughter's wedding on Saturday. It had gotten that bad. And so, you know, it was my side of the aisle, it was the Democratic side of the aisle that played a major role. I mean, we were pretty lone wolves out there making sure that workers were appreciated and got these policies in place. Have workers forgotten that?
I think they have. And I think the other thing, Joel, is the younger workers don't know anything about it. So, I mean, there's a certain aspect there where, you know, do we take time and teach them and remind them what this, you know, how this was built, why you have you know, an 8-hour work day if you choose. You know, that's, you know, the factory side setting where our guys on heavy highway and stuff like that, we want as many hours as possible because our work window is a lot smaller than a factory worker. So there is some differences between unions. And the other thing too is there's a lot of different unions. Some unions haven't seen the fall off that, you know, the trades have because of work specifically being taken away from them. But I do think that there's, you know, it's more of a what have you done for me lately type thing, which it shouldn't be, and I don't agree with that because, you know, I grew up in a union household with a dad that was telling me this is why we have this, and this is, you know, here's why we have what we have and what people went through, you know, back in the day. So I mean, I understand it, and when people ask me about it, I try to tell them, or if they ask to be told, you know, I'll do my best to explain things to them.
Well, that's because your dad's a good man. There's my bias.
Yeah.
I'm a big Butch fan. I want to talk to you a little bit about being mayor of a small town. I mean, Weimer's a small town by most people's standards.
Yep.
Growing up in Matter, it's a huge town, but that's an aside.
Right.
The challenges of being mayor in a small town. You know, the old adage of, hey, you know, I took the job and I didn't know I was going to deal with barking dogs. I mean, every mayor's got that issue, but making sure you have grocery stores and gas stations and all of those type of things. You know, small towns are different now.
Yeah, it's been a challenge, especially, you know, Weimer hasn't had a grocery store for probably 10 years. But, you know, its location, we're close to Wapton, it's easy. We did get another store that came into town, Dollar General, last couple of years here. That's been great. We've been really concentrating on fixing our infrastructure in town, you know, making it a place where people want to come. But I'll tell you one thing, Joel. If a house is for sale in Weimer, it's not for sale very long.
Yeah.
I mean, houses are selling quick. We've made an attempt to do a little better for housing for like the Doossons over there in Gwinner or other places. And it's not a bad job. We have a great council, which, you know, makes it pretty easy in town. And I think people in town understand that, you know, do you let it go back to gravel streets and have issues, or do we, you know, do something and fix it, which we're in the middle of right now doing the street projects.
Got a minute left, but I told Heidi in the conversation she had about what Joe Biden should do in some of these rural areas. I said, give grants to knock over old homes.
Yep.
Because then you've got lots available to those new families. Also, take a serious look at building back that infrastructure. You know, the water system and the sewer system in Weimer, I have no doubt, was built in the 70s, when a lot of these things were, you know, the money came from Quentin Burdick and Milt Young and people like that. It's old infrastructure. I got 20 seconds left. Your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I mean, we're pulling up the old stuff. We're doing a water and sewer project right now, and you look at some of the connections and what they use, you just scratch your head and can't believe we've gotten as far as we have with what we have. So that's the process, and that would be great.
The old clay tile.
Yeah.
The old clay tile.
Yeah, that's fun stuff.
When we come back, we're going to get a chance to visit with Pam Anderson. She's a state rep from Fargo. She's got a lot of interesting legislation available. Let's talk to her when we come back as we go down the road.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
Everybody needs an off-season, but our announcers have a tough time slowing down.
Hey, do you mind if I practice a little bit? Right, I'm really big man.
Johnson holds, shoots, he scores!
Incredible! For the second time today, Brent has jammed the printer.
Lowry's third caramel roll of the day. That's a bold move.
And he drains one. Blind squirrel finds a nut. And back to normal.
Beck News brings you real people and real news. Every weekday on KNDB, KNDM, and KRDK. Start your evening with the Dr. Duke Show at 4. Take a fresh look at current events with Ladies of Another View at 4:30. Go down the road with Joel at 5:30. Watch No Apologies with Becker at 9. Cap off your night with No Filter with Debbie at 10. Beck News. Real people, real news.
The professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Welcome back to Down the Road. Hopefully we're going to be joined by Representative Pam Anderson in just a little bit. Obviously a lot of things going on in a legislative life, but I'm pretty confident Pam's going to join us. You know, there's a lot of head shakers. That's probably the best way to describe it on the public airways when it comes to this legislature. Let me give you an example. There's a bill that pushes for the fact that schools would have the 10 Commandments, public schools now. I know the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments don't hurt a bit, but what I will tell you is this. If we're going to be opening the public schools to all religions, which we are, which is it's a melting pot of anyone who comes, then why would we thrust upon them the 10 Commandments unless we're willing to have everything else? And my guess is many of the people that support that fact that you should have the 10 Commandments are individuals that wouldn't support the other religions. So it puts up a question mark for me. You know, repealing the Equal Rights Amendment that North Dakota has supported. This got to be a big fight last legislative session, and the people that beat back that effort to take away North Dakota's support were Republican women. It obviously got support from Democrats as well, but it was Judy Lee and Karen Kresbaugh, Judy Lee from West Fargo and Karen Kresbaugh from Minot, that said no. This mattered. And women, in many cases, are where they are because of the fact that we set a tone about the Equal Rights Amendment. And so I don't get it. It's not hurting anything. It isn't an amendment to the Constitution. And so why pull that back? Yana Myrdal's the one that pushes that. And I don't get her. I had never gotten her. It's like she wakes up in the morning and has to prove that she's an ultra-conservative. Also, you know, there are bills in here that really tie between vaccines and autism. That's what it does. Let me give you an example. House Bill 1306. You know, Representative Hoverson study mandating the study of the connection between autism and vaccines. This at a time when we're out there encouraging as many people as what we can to take the vaccine so we can stop the spread of COVID, so we can get that herd immunity. I mean, why? Why? I mean, there's any medical expert that you talk to, this is not an issue. But if you're sitting around the bar and you're trying to put conspiracy theories out there and you're trying to go ahead and prove that you're the furthest right, that the government is injecting this and it's causing autism, you know what? What better place to study that than in the North Dakota legislature? Let me give you a couple more. Representative Simons, Dickinson now. I always think it's fair to bring up their hometown. In Dickinson, Representative Simons removes swords, throwing stars, nunchucks, metal knuckles, bows and arrows, and much more from the list of dangerous weapons that are in statute. So you think a bow and arrow isn't dangerous and it doesn't belong in the statute, as though that's something that could be dangerous to the public? I mean, come on. So you're going to just prove, and it's about lobbyist money, folks. That's what this is all about. I'm going to bring in North Dakota State Representative Pam Anderson now. Representative Anderson, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Thank you.
You've got a piece of legislation that is, in my opinion, just gorgeous. It does things for small businesses across the state. Can you describe it to folks?
Yes, what it is a bill, and this just applies to the 72.6% of our very smallest businesses, which is less than 16 employees. And I kind of call it the Renaissance Zone for the little guys and gals. It's for just this year to help them with cash flow, the first $100,000 of sales, retail sales, they collect the 5% from the customer, but they don't send it into the state. So it'll help them with their cash flow this year.
Now, Pam, I think people need to know this. You know what it's like to borrow money. Tell people what you did for years in your professional life.
I spent over 30 years working for two major banks, U.S. Bank and Wells Fargo.
And how high did you get in those banks?
Senior vice president.
Yeah.
So I retired at.
You know, yeah. You're not going to say it. I'm going to make you say it because, quite frankly, you moved up the ladder and you knew what it was like to deal with all the aspects of banking. For these small businesses, at a time when we're sending billions of dollars to Oklahoma and Texas to shore up what the oil industry left us with, why in the world would you ever struggle and get a do not pass in Bismarck when it comes to our small businesses?
Well, I think it's because I'm a Democrat and I'm the prime sponsor, or else the Finance and Taxation, and this afternoon the whole chamber is going to be voting on my bill 1414, and I'm sure it's going to go down in flames. I can't imagine it won't, Joel, based upon what happened in committee. There was one enlightened Republican, Representative Kading from Fargo, who agrees that these small businesses have not gotten any real share of $1.25 billion the state got on our first go-around. But I think it goes even beyond this. These small businesses, they don't even have a voice in our legislative process. The Greater Chamber doesn't care about them. Fargo-Moorhead didn't even respond. The Retail Association, nothing. The only place that got it was the Bismarck Chamber of Commerce and the Bismarck Downtown Association. They supported my bill. That's it. No one else did. And the other thing I'm finding out, when you talk about banking, Joel, talk to one small retailer, and apparently this is kind of common. She puts her product on her personal credit card, and that's how she pays it back once she sells. I mean, really? Yeah. And this is what makes our Main Street. This is the vibrancy of our communities, are the quilt shops, are the coffee shops, are the grocery stores. And yet we don't seem to care at all about them. You're on your own.
You know the chambers that you made reference to that weren't there for small business when it came to this whole debate. Those chambers get paid to do that. I mean, they do. They get paid to do that, and for them not even to call you back, I don't get that. I really don't.
Well, here's what's part of it. The chambers get paid. Most of them, I mean, their dues are number of employees. So for the Fargo Chamber to have 6 or 7, staff members, whatever, I might be quite right on the numbers, they need the Microsofts, they need the big banks, they need all of that, because that's what pays to keep their office going. Same with the Greater North Dakota. So if you are a small business, less than 10 employees, you aren't paying very much to keep them going.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let me give you an example, Pam, of that, though. You mentioned Microsoft, so I get a chance to say this. Microsoft needs to sell computers, and the people they sell computers to, in many cases, are those small businesses. I want to give you a couple other examples. When banks, the banks that we know, including the Bank of North Dakota and others that involve this, when those banks actually borrow money, they need those small businesses to succeed. And so the Bank of North Dakota is a major player in a lot of that. I want to give you some more, which is they may not own the small business, but the people that work for the small business during this COVID crisis, just as the owner of that small business is really shaking their head and asking themselves, you know what, why? I mean, why in the world
Joel,
can't
Joel, I'm so sorry. I'm looking for a plug-in. My phone is ready to die.
Okay. I'll finish this up, Pam. You go ahead and go back to work, okay?
Well, but I'm so sorry.
No,
I just never
that's okay.
dawned on me.
It's called automation during COVID, okay? Don't you worry about that. You go back and go to work. We'll do it some more another day, okay?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Representative Pamela Anderson, ladies and gentlemen, you bring forth legislation that makes people think. And you know what? What I was thinking about with this legislation is coming out with a do not pass with only one Republican supporting it is a lot of times, as Pam said, it won't pass because of the fact that it's a Democrat that introduced it. And here's what I know about Pamela Anderson. Here's what I know. I know that she wouldn't care if a Republican picked up that same legislation after it fails, reintroduces it, as, you know what, it was my bill all along, and passes. Because if you think that doesn't happen, I can show you a huge history of that happening. With the Democratic name on top, you know what, it wasn't necessary. But when the Republican name goes on top and the language is exactly the same, now it will pass. Now it will pass. And I think we've got Representative Anderson back. Pam, would you care one bit if this had a Republican sponsor to pass it?
No, I just care about these small businesses that just don't have a voice. And I think it's too bad that voice has to be a Republican voice, but if that's what it is, fine.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this, you're fighting the good fight. And someday we're going to go back and we're going to talk a little bit about legalizing marijuana as well. Fair?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
When we come back, we're going to have our Newsmaker segment. Let's talk a little bit about all the issues that are going on today as we continue to go down the road.
Hey folks, it's a Canline Cafe. I reckon it's time you'll do for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bussin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Canline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Beck News brings you real people and real news. Every weekday on KNDB, KNDM, and KRDK. Start your evening with the Dr. Duke Show at 4. Take a fresh look at current events with Ladies of Another View at 4:30. Go down the road with Joel at 5:30. Watch No Apologies with Becker at 9. Cap off your night with No Filter with Debbie at 10. Beck News. Real people, real news.
Good to have you still going down the road with us. You know, the Newsmaker segment that we have here on Down the Road doesn't always happen. I realize that. Sometimes we get some guests that we think, you know what, we're glad to have that guest and we need to get them on and spend some more time with them. But you know what, sometimes we don't. And that's good. And it's good for me because I get an opportunity to do what I'm about to do. And that's talk about a couple of big issues that are happening both local and nationwide. One of those is the fact that, you know, there's a bill going through and the committee is hearing testimony on a bill that would legalize medically assisted suicide for those with terminal illness. You know, those individuals that are to the point where they're going to die and they're going to die anyway, and they want to define and allow themselves to die in a certain way. One of the people that testified in favor of this bill, one individual, is a man named Mark Schneider. I've known Mark Schneider for years and years and years. He's about as good and decent of a person as you can possibly have. And I don't know anyone that could do a better job of testifying in favor of this bill than Mark. You know, just watch this video.
I appear before you with a simple preface that no one can speak to dying with dignity more credibly than someone who is dying. I fill that bill. I am dying. I have terminal urothelial cancer in my kidney that has spread to my back, liver, lungs, and I'm sure it's not done with its progression. It was diagnosed in November of 2019. Surgery was not an option. I've had extensive unsuccessful chemotherapy and unsuccessful immunotherapy. I've had radiation for cancer on my spine. On May 27 last year, my oncologist at Mayo Clinic estimated I'd have a year to live. I am currently on a new chemo medication that is palliative only, but may extend a certain quality of life for an average additional 14 months. With that drug, I have experienced pernicious side effects like painful mouth sores, lip sores, and all too obviously, hair loss. This is not a complete list of the side effects that I have endured, so I might not be able to continue the medicine, but I do enjoy a quality of life that was absent without that palliative drug. In the past, I have experienced sustained and severe lengths of pain. If I didn't reach level 10, I hope never to see it. Despite being on both morphine and high levels of fentanyl. I've also suffered from severe nausea. I chose to, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I chose to endure the pain and side effects because all alternatives for treatment were not exhausted at that time, and some quality of life was possible. And the urge to continue life and to live is extremely strong. But the end game, which is inevitable, presents me and those like me with the prospects of unbearable pain and deterioration, and a certain loss of physical and mental function that will render me an empty shadow of my former self. Quality of life then? Impossible. I suggest to you that this is an intolerable prospect, and that everyone must be able to make an intelligent and informed decision on when to say enough is enough. Since I was a child selling newspapers and working in a neighborhood mom and pop grocery store, I've had responsibilities, earned money, taken care of myself, and made mostly all of my decisions, for better or for worse, on my own. As an attorney for over 40 years, I've made important decisions for my legal practice, my family, my health care, indeed, all aspects of life. I was paid handsome fees to make decisions with and for others, and they relied on that advice, often on matters of profound consequences to the lives of my client and their families. The point is, having made those decisions my entire life, should I, or anyone else in my situation, be denied the ultimate decision of deciding whether to end my life when any quality of life is hopeless and the future holds only misery and pain? As simply as I can put it, why should decisions about my condition, healthcare choices, and life be dictated by others not living my life?
Why? I mean, why? Why should they? That's a fair and honest question that Mark Schneider just asked that committee. That's dignity, ladies and gentlemen, and to take away that dignity, I think, is about as wrong as you can possibly be. Mark Schneider got up in front of people and told a life story, and told what is to be one of the worst times of his life. To know that when he looks at grandkids, he's not going to see them any longer, and he's not going to see them any longer very soon. To be able to make the decision of how he dies, to be able to say, listen, I and my family get to have this discussion. Not you, not the people at the hospital, not others. I'm terminally ill with cancer, and I deserve the right to make that decision. Mark did a lot for a lot of people right there. He did. He did a lot for a lot of people. There's a lot of you who realize that family members should have had that choice. There's a lot of you who realize that family members found a way to make that choice. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be the way that they're breaking North Dakota law while they make that choice. Want to talk as well about what's happening on a national level. Senate leader, Minority Leader now, Mitch McConnell, denounced a newly elected Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's a House member. She's a representative on Monday. He called the far-right Georgia Republicans' embrace of conspiracy theories and loony lies a cancer for the Republican Party. You're going to be surprised at what I say, but that isn't fair, and that isn't right. Marjorie Taylor Greene was elected under the same umbrella that Donald Trump was. Marjorie Taylor Greene spews the same crap that Donald Trump has. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the same person that Donald Trump is. And Mitch McConnell didn't say that about Donald Trump once. His party, the Republican Party, encouraged the Marjorie Taylor Greenes to be part of their party, to go ahead and run as one of their party. That's how she got there. That's how she got there. Mitch McConnell is responsible for Marjorie Taylor Greene. He never made this same denouncement of Donald Trump. He didn't do that about Donald Trump. He embraced it. He allowed it. He never challenged it. If I was Congressman or Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, I got to be honest with you, I'd tell Mitch McConnell where to get off the train. I would tell Mitch McConnell that he's being nothing but a hypocrite. I would tell Mitch McConnell that I have been elected by my district. If my district is that ridiculous that they would elect a person like this, then by God, they did that. And that is who the Republican Party has become on a national scale. I'm sorry, but Mitch McConnell can want to reinvent history all he wants. The truth of the matter is, for the past 4 to 5 years, he allowed it and he supported it. And now all of a sudden, when it comes to one freshman congresswoman, he wants to change it. When we come back, I'm going to have some closing comments for you. We're going to talk about anti-law enforcement bills right after this as we go down the road.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Rush hour traffic in North Dakota is almost unheard of, Noah.
I'm speechless. It's something you just don't see around here, especially at this hour of the day.
Brian, can you say anything from your perspective?
Guys, I can. All this traffic is because some doofus drove off the road.
Doofus? Well, let's hope you can help him out of there. No. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
All right, great job.
Yeah, that went very well.
The professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative BRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
you know, it's always good going down the road with you and being able to give you a different perspective of many of the things that you hear out there in the statewide and national media. And I appreciate Beck Communications for giving me that opportunity. I want to give you an example of some of it. Let's talk about what we're seeing with the anti-law enforcement legislation that's being pushed. And yes, a lot of it is being pushed by a guy named Jason Heitkamp, who goes around saying J. Heitkamp, so don't fall for it. It's not the old one that was in the legislature. It's a new one that's about as far right that he makes Rush Limbaugh look left. But I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to talk to you, if I can, about two bills that seem to not feel as though law enforcement does their job. The first one is the right to access property. Let me give you a scenario of a farm, right? You got a mailbox, you got a driveway, you got a farm, you got somebody living on the farm. You see lights shining all over the place at night. You're law enforcement and you're sitting there and you know that there's been someone who's not a good person out in that county, in that township, in that city's area. What do you do as law enforcement? Do you do something about it? Do you go in and check it out? Worst case scenario, do you knock on a door and say, hey, everything okay? Well, this legislation wouldn't allow that. It wouldn't give law enforcement any access, which is ridiculous, which is absolutely ridiculous. Let them do their job. Let me give you another example. Ping, right? Okay, so you're out there. We're in the middle of winter now, about to hit a major cold snap. You're caught. Your cell phone's going dead. You call looking for help, and you know what? Everything goes dead. They're looking to help you. Or you've got a domestic crisis. Somebody calls, they hide in the bathroom. Next thing you know, bad things are happening. You can ping that phone and know where that phone is. Oh my goodness. What an intrusion on government to be able to know what bridge somebody is stuck under in a snowbank. I mean, why? Why are we afraid to let law enforcement do their job? Man, talk about people that think Gordon Call was a hero. Folks, it's been good riding with you. We'll see you down the trail.